All right, guys, welcome back to our series, our FAQ series for frequently asked questions for independent transaction coordinators, new and aspiring. So here's the thing is, I'm going to read this one verbatim. This one's a little longer of a question. The main question is the very last line, but I think the full context is important. David, I've seen a number of TCs in Facebook groups complain about how little they make per transaction when compared. Stop comparing yourself. When compared to what their agents are making. Why does this topic seem to come up over and over again? And here's the key question. Are TCs underpaid, or how would you look at this? I would look at it based on two things, okay? And I think these two things will put everything in context for you. Number one, business models. Understand that both TCs and realtors work under completely different business models. That is so crucial. I can't even overstate that, but I'll break it down in a minute, okay? But it is very, very crucial. It seems like we're doing something similar, TCs and realtors, because we're both in the same industry. We're both working on the same file. We're both working on the same clients, okay? And maybe the TC feels like they spent more hours on that file than what the agent did. Same industry, same transaction, same clients, more hours, fraction of the pay. That's just not using all the information that's available for you to make an emotional decision to be upset or disappointed with anything, okay? Business models are very, very different. So we're going to talk about that and hammer on that very specifically in a minute, but we're going to hammer on it with the second point. There are two things that get me over this hump and help me understand the answer to this question. One is business models. The second one is math. Just pure math, okay? So now let's talk about what is the math in that business model. The difference in the business model is this, is if you think of what an agent needs to do to get one client, and how often does that one client actually do business with them? Let's just say that a typical buyer or seller moves every 5 to 8 years. They're going to have some clients that move every 3 years. They're going to have some clients that stay in a home for 20 years. Now, let's just talk a little bit more typical. Let's say it's every 5 to 8 years. And now let's just really narrow it down and let's just call it 5. If they were lucky enough that that person moved every 5 years, are they guaranteed to even get that client's business, to earn that client's business every 5 years? They may have done one transaction and never see that person again. And it's not that they weren't amazing. It's not that they weren't great. It's not that they didn't stay in contact with them. The fact is that 5 years from now, they may have a family member that's a real estate agent now. Okay, they may have family members that have all used the same real estate agent. They were the oddball that used that agent one time. And now this agent that is now kind of the family agent, he's not with the family, but he's almost become family because he's done mom's house, grandma's house, he's done brother's house, he's done sister's house. At this point, it just makes sense that he may end up using that other agent. Just because this agent got the business once, even if they move in 5 years, the chances of him getting that business is very slim. And there are tons of data and stats that show how small of a chance that agent has of ever getting that business 5 to 8 years later, even if they did everything right, okay? You, as an independent transaction coordinator, are going to be working with agents. And let's just, once again, we're going to generalize, just like I generalized that agent is working with one client that only does business every 5 to 8 years, and he doesn't even know if he's getting it in 5 years, he or she, okay? You are going to choose agents. Your goal is to have agents that are closing a few files every single month. So let's say 2 to 4. So I'm even going to bring this average down even farther, just down to 2. You're working with agents. A typical agent will close 2 transactions per month with you. Now let's look at those 5 years. Now, I can't even tell you what the average fee is that you're charging, but you may be charging $300, you may be charging $600. I'm going to use an average number of $400 right now. Where did I come up with that average? Out of my head. Okay, so don't use that as what you should be charging or anything else like that. You got to know your local market. You got to know what levels of service you're going to provide. But let's call it $400. I know a lot of my coaching clients, some of them are in the 500s and everything else like that, but that's appropriate for their area and their level of service. I'm going to use 400 as a round number because I'm trying to be conservative on everything. You have an agent that's doing 2 transactions per month with you. Okay, every month. Okay. 2 transactions per month is 24 transactions per year. At $400 is $9,600. So is it typical to believe that a typical agent, a typical commission for a typical agent might be somewhere between, they're going to pocket $6,000 to $10,000 on a typical commission? Will there be somewhere they only pocket 3 to 6? You bet. Are there going to be commissions that are 20 to 40,000? You bet. Okay. But if we look at national average, what is the average sales price of the home? What is their average splits with their brokers? Everything else like that. It's not that uncommon that they're going to make closer to $6,000 to $10,000 commission. And you're thinking, I'm in a transaction. I just spent all this time on that transaction. I owned this transaction. David, I can't stress you. I don't think you understand how much work I did on this transaction, and I'm making $400 and how little. I'm not kidding. This agent was so absent, so ridiculous, made so many mistakes, never gave me credit for anything. Okay, that agent is making $6,000 to $10,000, even if it was $10,000. That person isn't going to see that again for another 5 years, and the chances of him seeing that again are pretty slim according to the national averages. That's probably the only money he's ever making off of that client. You, on the other hand, if they're doing 2 files per month times 24 files per year at $400, you're making $9,600 for that year. If that agent makes $6,000 to $10,000, you have a pretty good chance of actually making more that year on your one client than they make on their client. We're talking about different business models here, guys. Different business models. Now, here's the next thing. We just talked about average person might move every 5 to 8 years. Let's say 5, he gets lucky. It's every 5 years. Okay, so 5 years again, he gets to make that, let's call it 10,000. Let's even round him up to 10,000. 5 years from now, he gets to make another 10,000. But that 5 years, that first 5 years, what he made was $10,000. Let's take your 2 closings per month with that one agent, and you were good enough to be their TC. They wanted to keep you because you are the best in the business. 24 closings per year over 5 years, you are making $9,600 per year, $48,000 for one client. In that 5 years, they made 6 to 10, I had said in that example. Who's got the better deal? Now, all I talked about was financial here. Let's answer the question I just asked, though. Who's got the better deal? Over 5 years, you never had to lead gen to get him back again. You made $9,600 every single year. You made $48,000 over 5 years. And after he closed that one person that you did all the work on, by the way, he made $10,000. He's got to go out and lead gen again and again and again. He's got to reproduce this every month, all 5 years. And if you know what the average closing ratio is on how many contacts they have to make versus how many go through the whole pipeline and convert to a closing, I'll just tell you right now, I think you got the better deal. I think you got the better deal. Now, I'm just going to blow your mind with this number. What if you actually were able to partner with an agent that does more than 2 transactions per month? Because plenty of agents do. You're going to work with good agents. If they were doing 4, that's 48 per year. That first year, you would have made $19,200. Over 5 years, you would have made on that one client, $96,000 per year. Don't be upset about the fact that you make $400 on a transaction and they make $10,000. This is not apples to apples here. It's not even remotely close. You guys do not work under the same business model. It is not even close to the same business model. but it can be taken personally because I put so much time into that file. We're in the same industry, we're with the same customers, we're on the same file, and I spent way more effort, way more energy. I put more of my knowledge into this than that agent dreamed of putting into this. Okay? It's not about how many hours you put in that transaction. It's about what is your business model? Your business model over 5 years, one client, one client, one client, one client, one client, one client at 2 transactions per month is $48,000 per year. At 4 transactions per month average is $96,000. I'm sorry, $48,000 over 5 years, $96,000 over 5 years. I'm just telling you right now is these are not, you can't compare the two. So yes, I do. I feel it. I'm very sad for the people that I see in the Facebook group that are very disappointed, angry, feel like maybe it's just time for them to get out of the business because they are underpaid. Here's the thing is, you're a small business owner, and small business owners, for the small business to work for you, you have to be working with a small business that has business models that work for your type of disposition, personality. And there's going to be some people that being a realtor is just a better gig for them. There's going to be other people, they would rather have one client that does multiple transactions every single month. And that is the type of relationship and type of business model that they have over a 5-year period with that client, versus the agent knows that he's got to reproduce that every single month. And even if his business repeats, it takes 5 years for that business to repeat. And the chances of him getting that is pretty small. I hope that helps you understand the answer to the question. I'm just going to read the last part of that question. Are TCs underpaid, or how would you look at that? No, they're not underpaid. It's a different business model. And to compare the two is just lack of information and knowledge and education on business models within this industry. There are many, 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 many business models and many ways to look at this, but to compare the two just isn't fair and it's not accurate. I hope that helps you guys. Take care.